From the news of T-Mobile Arena getting booked for an event, to Dana White claiming that anything's possible, this is what we know about Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler's date being set. The UFC has applied for a permit to hold an event at T-Mobile Arena. The news was leaked by MMA Junkie, and it claimed that the 16th of December, 2023 is being targeted for the return of the Notorious One. Obviously, the UFC hasn't confirmed that Conor and Chandler will be headlining that fight, but chances are that the last event of the year will feature the UFC poster boy. If the fight goes through, it'll mean that McGregor will be looking for his first UFC win in over 3 years. The promotion will be hosting UFC 296 in Las Vegas just 9 days before Christmas, and it makes sense because of the holiday season. So Dana and co. will be looking to put the biggest name they've got on the cards. And you all know how much Conor likes fighting in Las Vegas. The Irishman's coach also reacted to the news on Twitter. He teased the fans by replying with a gif of Shaquille O'Neal shimmying. Apart from this one meme, there have been no confirmations from either of the fighters or from the UFC. Dana did hint at it though. While talking to the Pat McAfee show, the UFC head honcho revealed some of his plans. He said that they were targeting a heavyweight title fight between Jon Jones and Stipe Miocic for UFC 295 in November 2023, which is supposed to happen at Madison Square Garden, New York. Even Jon came out and said that he'd like nothing better than to fight in his hometown. Dana added that they were planning something big for the end of the year. He didn't specifically mention Conor and Iron Mike by name, but you all know that the Notorious One is still the biggest fighter the UFC has. Just the pure number of pay-per-views that guy has sold over the years is insane. So it makes sense for Dana to save his best for last. Conor has talked a lot about making the biggest return to the octagon ever, and he has the fans all hyped up for it. I don't think he's gonna back out of it now, because it'll only look bad on his legacy, and that's something he cherishes more than anything else. But that may be easier said than done, because Mystic Mac still needs a green light from USADA before he can step in the octagon again, which shouldn't come as a surprise. You all saw how huge Conor got during his time away from the UFC. The man got some serious gains in a few months, and everyone thought that he was on steroids. Nothing was confirmed, but his physique and the fact that the UFC allowed him to drop out of the USADA pool raised some questions. McGregor also snapped his leg in half, and several experts believed that the stuff he took to recover after the surgery wasn't exactly allowed by USADA. In May 2023, Conor, as well as the anti-doping agency, confirmed that all the paperwork was done and dusted, and all the Notorious One had to do was get back in the pool. USADA stuck to their guns to have McGregor in the pool for at least 6 months before he was allowed back in the cage, so that too adds up when you consider Dana targeting a date for the end of 2023 for his return. I have to admit, it was relieving to see that Conor decided to come to terms with USADA after his initial outburst. Now, if he could just submit some clean samples for them, it should be smooth sailing for him going forward. Conor's fight with Chandler will be really exciting to watch, especially after how they're building it up in The Ultimate Fighter. Both of these guys are coaching their respective teams, and as is the show's tradition, the coaches get to fight once the season is wrapped up. Because of Conor's problems with USADA, a fight in August 2023 wasn't possible. So December was the only option that the UFC could go for. Honestly, I don't mind, as long as Mystic Mac gets to make his comeback to the octagon. On the show, there's some serious enmity building up between him and Iron Mike. You guys must have seen how McGregor grabbed Chandler by the throat and shoved him back. Obviously, Iron Mike didn't like that, but there isn't much he can do about it. I mean, it's Conor you're talking about, and Chandler's gotta do what he'll be told to do. Just like he'll fight at whatever weight class the Notorious One would want to fight at, which is still pretty unclear. You see, Conor wants to fight at 185, and as I said, Chandler will do anything to make sure that the fight happens. Even if it means fighting 30 pounds over what he's used to fighting, but the boss has to agree with that too. Dana has made it clear time and time again that he doesn't like Conor going above 155 because he's too small as a welterweight. Chandler might not be too pleased with McGregor dictating all the terms, but remember guys, this is what he asked for, and Conor is just having a bit of fun at his opponent's expense. He admitted that tensions were a little high at the beginning between them, but the Notorious played down any talks of a fierce rivalry with Iron Mike. He told the official UFC YouTube channel that he's just enjoying himself and doesn't really hate Mike. There might have been a scuffle, but for the most part, it has been nothing but good fun and happy days. McGregor went as far as to say that he'd be willing to coach on the show non-stop if they allowed it. That doesn't mean that Conor doesn't want to cave Chandler's head in. In fact, he told Megan O'Leary how he's gonna knock out Iron Mike with a head kick because he's tailor-made for getting kicked around. Referring to the metal bar he now has in his leg, Conor said that he was aiming to wrap that steel bar around Chandler's head. Mystic Mike, on the other hand, thinks that he's gonna bludgeon the Irishman and finish him off by the second round. You'll have to wait and see if he can pull it off though, because most of the pros are picking Conor to get the job done. Dustin Poirier is somewhat of an expert when it comes to the Notorious One. He has fought him thrice and defeated him twice. The Diamond also happened to be the guy who broke McGregor's leg. Poirier says that if Conor comes back as who he was before he got injured, then the fight shouldn't be an issue for him, because he'd still have that exceptional counter-striking ability, and Chandler really gets hittable, especially in the later rounds. Dustin knows what he's talking about because he has beaten up Iron Mike as well. Another guy who has fought both Conor and Chandler is the former champ Eddie Alvarez, and he too thinks Chandler won't survive this fight. The Underground King went as far as to claim this is a complete mismatch for Mike because he just can't go toe-to-toe with the Irishman's striking. Eddie has got a point though. Chandler can win the fight pretty easily if he wanted to, but he won't do that. I mean, Iron Mike is a pretty accomplished wrestler, and you all know how much Conor struggles against guys like that. But the thing is that Chandler wants to entertain the crowd, so he'll just come out swinging. That's where the danger lies for him, because the Notorious One is amazing with his striking, and if he lands that sledgehammer of a left hand, then it'll be lights out for sure. The best bet for Chandler would be to take the fight to the ground ASAP, but I doubt he's gonna do that. He could have done that against Poirier, but he chose to engage in a brawl like Islam Makhachev described it. For him, winning doesn't mean as much as giving the fans an exciting fight, and as hyped up about this as I am, I can't get over Dana's reaction at UFC Vegas 74 press conference. The boss wasn't holding his breath for the showdown being planned for the end of the year, and he said that anything can happen right now because that's how this business works. Dana admitted that it's very hard to pull all of these fights together, so he can't promise the fans anything. He also revealed that he talked to Conor, and the positive thing out of that was that he loved the first episode of The Ultimate Fighter. That means that being on the set among fighters, the Irishman felt the urge to get back inside the octagon and fight. Dana added that it's difficult to convince someone with so much money to come back to the cage. He recounted how something similar happened with Khabib Nurmagomedov, so he has to get them fired up again. Fingers crossed for this one, guys. So from Dana White claiming that anything's still possible, to the news of T-Mobile Arena getting booked for an event, this was what we know about Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler date being set.